And we're going to get started here in a second. Or vacant. We use available public. And from the border of liberty and prosperity, the highway to the north, this is Safety Wars for Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. Where has the year gone, my friends? I don't know. I have no idea where the year has gone. But it is gone. So, let's see here. Are we on the radio? We'll figure this out. But it is gone. Oh, yeah, we are there. Everything's working tonight. So, let's keep our fingers crossed here. Right? So, some of the other shows, right, that are live here, and, there's a lot of shows I look up to. A lot of the hosts, I use that, they're my either official or unofficial mentor. They have all of these, sometimes they have audio issues, sometimes they have video issues, right? Even the professionally done shows here, or the quote unquote professionals, right, out there that are doing the live broadcasts, they have issues sometimes. And you're gonna say, "Well, Jim, what? No, what's the issue? They have issues. They have this. They have that. Blah blah blah. What's the deal?" And I always say, go back on the story here. So I was at a very late night Bible study in my younger days, and I was also the lector at the church, meaning at my church, and I was in charge of doing the readings. So we were out with the church group late at night. We got home, and then we go to the Bible study. Then we said, "Well, let's go out and let's enjoy ourselves a little bit." Everything else. I was in my late 20s, and I had to do the 8 a.m. service. And I go up to the 8 a.m. service, and I forgot my glasses. Back in them days, I wore reading glasses. I've had LASIK surgery to correct that. Now I'm wearing glasses again sometimes. And I go up there and I start reading, and I forget the large print edition Bible. And I'm reading from the regular Bible. And without reading glasses, and I'm like, and I'm messing it up all around. People are like, well, whoa, where was he last night? And I get about 3 sentences in, and I say, I'm having a rough morning here today. This is 8 a.m. Service. I said, I'm going to start all over again. So I start all over again. And we had our interim minister there. I forget her name offhand. And she's up there. And she's like supportive, but she's like, oh man, what's going on? I go up there, I go through the whole thing, and without a flaw. They said, okay, great. I give the Old Testament lesson. I give the New Testament, not the New, I give the Old Testament, the epistle lesson. We say a couple of prayers, well, and we're doing our thing. So the end of the service comes, and the and guess what happens? They come up here. The people in the church come up and older. They said, Jim, you did okay. You recovered well on that and everything else. And these are like the old, no, the 8 a.m. Service people are like the really, really, holy rollers, right? They say, uh, you know, because of what happened to you and you restarted and you recovered, because of that, now I feel confident enough that I can do this now because you made it okay to make a mistake and go over again. And isn't that funny? Says a lot about life, right? Where you may make a mistake, and all of a sudden you're correct, and then you inspire other people to go and become readers at the church with that. And that's not only readers at the church; it could be anything where you're down and out, and then you come back and you inspire people. You do things better and things. And it's that's not everything in life, but in this case, it did work out. And we did have a lot of volunteers for readers there because, hey, Jim's fouled up. Guess what? He made a recovery. It was fine. If he could do it, I can do it, sort of thing. And or it was the other thing is I can do a better job than him. Look at the horrible job he did, and it's okay. It didn't work out okay. And I share this story because it's I see other shows, they make mistakes, they don't I'm like, well, you know what, it's okay, human error is normal. Sometimes what happens though, the computers do not cooperate. So right now I have a 2G hardwired line for this, and basically everything in the house is shut off except for my father-in-law's TV, and maybe my wife is on the internet or children on the internet. They're not streaming anything. So we should have a good internet connection. So I hit go on the software for the camera, and it fails. And I'm like, oh, we're like 45 seconds before showtime. So okay, let's retry it, and then everything went through. The issue normally isn't with the audio portion of this. If you're listening on Safety FM or on the podcast, it's usually with the other one. Now, something refreshing happened today for me. Very refreshing. So, as you know, we're not big, huge fans of behavior-based safety here. It has its place. A lot of companies are still going behavior-based safety and everything else, and or there's some kind of a transition going in where they can't go leave behavior-based safety because senior level management wants to stay there. They spend millions of dollars on a program, and then and they don't want to drop everything and then go to something else. They don't want to. No, they view safety as a operation, as operations. So, what do you mean, Jim? You have operations where you go and you set up a system, and it goes and it goes and it goes, and you do that system until you're making whatever product that you're making, and then all of a sudden, it needs maintenance. You fix it, and then it goes again. With safety, you're dealing with human beings. You can't always do that, right? As with human beings, because they're always changing. Human error is normal. Uh, now you have to try to minimize incentives to your system so it doesn't happen, but we're all human. And to treat a human like a machine or right, it doesn't work. And what they found out, so I'm giving a maritime training class today, uh, and for a very large uh, tugboat operation, but they don't like to be called tugboats. They like to be called something else. I got corrected very, very not in a not nice way, but okay, maybe I didn't deserve a very nice way. But so this company is going to be doing some offshore work, That's pretty much all I could say on that. And we started to talk a little bit about, what do we talk about? Hierarchy of controls. Then we talk about a little bit because everybody follows the behavior based safety. And I get guy raising his hand in the back of the class who said, "Hey, Jimmy, we abandoned behavior based safety like 3 or 4 years ago. We only do it when we're forced to. So, for let's say we're working for a larger company, which I find hard to believe. There's working for a larger company than them. Uh, we abandoned it. Uh, Basically, what we found was there was a major situation, and nobody reported the situation. And we did some research, and our old safety person who's since retired, we all did some research, and we just left the whole behavior-based safety thing behind. He said we used to have that zero accident sign out here. I'm sure he says I'm sure it's around here somewhere, but it ain't out, right? Somewhere, it ain't out. You know, the management, if they are keeping track of these things with hours and everything, they ain't telling us. And our bonuses, our pay, our promotions is not based on that sign. We and this was a non-union outfit here. We're and we try to get along and everything else. They is described to me their whole behavior-based safety uh, system. I'm sorry, their human organizational performance system. And what we discussed, we had a very productive discussion because the management knew a lot about it, the theory, right? They get a safety training. A lot of people things don't get retained. But the worker on the front line at the sharp end of the stick did not necessarily know about safety training or about human organizational performance. And we got to go into a little bit of background, the theory, the five principles of human organizational performance, the Jens Rasmussen modes of work uh, diagram that we use, the learning teams, and everything else. And they've embraced this. I said, well, how have been the results? He said, well, to be honest, more things are reported that are wrong. But the things that are reported wrong are like things that, if they're not fixed, could lead to bigger issues. So we're getting a lot of information, a lot more information than we want than we thought we were getting. Sometimes more information than what we want, but we're getting information and we're applying that information. And some of it's good, some of it's bad. And we tried to, and it wasn't their words, but it was I'm inferring it from them. They have a pretty mature safety program there, mature safety managers, and they're like, look, we tried to get to the bottom of the things and figure things out before we start before we no fly off the hook and everything. And it's like, look, it's a much more pleasant place to work now. Again, it's a work, and you're the boss. Sometimes you do things that people don't like, but no, that's the sort of thing. So that's my opening here. Is had a pretty good day here talking to Hop, and if you are interested in getting away from the adversarial system and blame, shame, and retraining employees that have been doing a job for 30 years when something goes wrong. If you're looking for a change, optimism, give us a call, 845-269-5772, or send me a line, jim at safetywords.com. Now, a lot of places, they don't have budgets or anything for safety programs, and they're not going to embrace this, but guess what we can do? What can you do? What can I do? What can we all do? We could go and we can listen to Safety Wars. We can listen to any one of the other 17 podcasts and programs on the Safety FM network here. And, let me mention a couple of these podcasts here with us. All right. So, uh, here, FM, about us, affiliates. Hold on. Uh, um, Hold on. I should have had the list here. Hold on. Ready to go. Oh, shows. So you have the Jay Allen show, right? We all know about the Jay Allen show. With us, he's the owner of the network here for us, right? He's the chief safety officer here for the network. Uh, You had the pre-accident investigation. That is Todd Conklin. He is the uh, he's basically one of the progenitors of this stuff, even though he would not take credit in that. He said, "Well, now there's a lot of people that go on before us." You have the Safety Pro, the Hop Nerd, here with Sam Goodman. Rated R Safety Show. That is our other live show on the Safety FM network. With They cover more general news like we were trying to do here, but it didn't really work out. Truck Safe Live with Brandon Wiseman, a Hop podcast, True Safety Podcast, the Accidental Safety Pro, the Safety Consultant with Sheldon Primus, who's been on this show, Safety App of Work, Diary of a Bald Man with Alan Warford, Unapologetically Bold, Rebranding Safety, the Practice of Learning Things with Brent Sutton, uh, uh, Essential Leadership Cycle, Interesting Health and Safety, Safety Words, TED Speaks, Safety Talks with Steve Sisson. Right, all great programs out there. A majority of them talk about human and organizational performance, not all of them. And again, there are other resources out there for this stuff. So I'm going to encourage everybody. Okay, there's a program for everybody here for what we're doing here uh, with this, and I really appreciate being on a team with these professionals, trying to get away from what I'm going to coin the old safety order. OSO, the old safety order of behavior based safety, adversarial stuff, lack of leadership. And as we recently shown on when we covered the COVID-19 report from Congress, lack of leadership everywhere. There's lack of leadership, loss of credibility because of this, and the safety professionals are often the ones tasked with administrating COVID. We got to overcome that. We have to rebuild some credibility. I agree with the report because it's been what I've seen. We got to rebuild credibility. We have to change our tune a little bit because right now we have 5,000 fatalities a year in the workplace, many more injuries, and we got to get that number down. So far, with command and control and what we've gotten since 1971, April 28th, 71, has gotten us this, and here, right, 5,000. But what they don't like to tell you, and this is one of the things that when we're talking about industrial hygiene today during the training class, there are 50,000 other deaths according to the estimates by OSHA. And they like to bury this in their website, not up front, that occur because of basically industrial hygiene needs, industrial hygiene faults, whatever we're going to call them here, situations. Uh, Basically, uh, what we need to do is give leadership, understand people, rebuild their credibility, be advocates. And I know being an advocate is not easy all the time. There's a lot of against us, especially if you're your younger part of your career where you're not smart enough yet. You're not experienced enough yet. And I'm sorry, I hate to, I'm not stupid, it's not experienced. When I say you're not smart, you gotta learn how people are. That's not doesn't come easy for most people. So, for example, now I say things that nobody I would have never dreamed and imagining, dreamed of saying to people who I meet in the field. And one of my key phrases here, and you all have heard it: do you have the authority to hire, fire, discipline, reward, or make changes in your workplace if you're a safety professional? If the answer is yes, well, guess what? Your life has been is a lot easier because you can make changes where you need to. You could reward new workers. Now, if the workers know that, hey, I could be on Jim's shit list and get thrown off the job because I refuse to work properly, or if Jim, if you're a manager on a job, I'm brought in as a third party outside consultant or even a direct hire on some of these projects. Well, Jim does have some authority, so maybe we need to listen, give him what safety is talking about and safety. And of course, you can't be a benevolent. You can't be a dictator. You have to work with people, work in your organization, and everything else, and work with people. If you have that, I've had that before. It's a wonderful situation. We improve corporate culture and everything else. If you don't have that, you don't have any of that authority, those 5 items, you have a problem out there. And the other thing is this: if they're not listening to you, they're not listening to you. It's got to be addressed with management. If you're being judged on your workers' compliance for the safety program, you better remember those 5 things that I told you, because that's going to come up in your annual review. And you have to come up with strategies on how to deal with this. One of them is, either negative and positive. One, I don't have the authority to do X, Y, and Z. You would have not given me authority to do X, Y, and Z. The person who have the authority to do X, Y, and Z don't care, or they have other competing needs out there. How am I responsible? Explain to me. Or how do I work in a system? How do I work? Ask a question. Don't be accusatory. How do I work in a system where I have no authority? I don't have any choice in hiring people. I can't fire people. I have no authority over these. I have nothing. How do you suggest that we handle this? We, how? And you get them. And if you could do this in writing, get them to answer the question with that. They don't want to answer the question. Maybe that's not the place for you with that. And I would never tell you to quit a job, but I have quit jobs because of the situations like that. So we're going to take our first commercial break and we'll come back at you. This is Safety Warrior. We have not played some of their music. This is Hop, Human Harmony. So that's soon to be on iTunes, Spotify, and everything else out there, right? By Safety Warrior. Anyway, we have you heard about this story here? I mean, this is mind-boggling here. But this is not the first time I've heard of this. Missing woman feared to have fallen into Pennsylvania sinkhole. Shoe found as search continues. So, in a lot of areas of Pennsylvania, Appalachia, we'll just use that as a general thing. They were former coal mines out there and other mines, but primarily coal. There are voids They build towns on top of this stuff, and often what happens is that things catch on fire, and the fire never goes out. I think of New Streetsville, Ohio, that caught on fire back in the 1920s, and it's never. They have an underground fire going on since the 1920s there, and baking that coal and everything. Basically, after the fire, the town went downhill. The last time I was there, I worked on a project in Logan, Ohio, for General Electric. Last time I was there was really nothing going on. There was like population 300, something like that. And the only famous family that came from there was the Nixon family, extended relatives of the former president, allegedly. And they are also famous for and I don't know if they still have it, but had it there for decades. The Moonshine Festival, the only one in the United States for a time now. Everybody's drinking moonshine again, right out there. Be careful, don't go blind. So rescue efforts continue as into a second day. Wednesday in a southwest Pennsylvania village where a sinkhole is feared to have swallowed up a grandmother who was looking for her cat. Local, state, and federal. No, just realize there are some people who are worried about the cat, not the woman. Well, right for that. Right. Local, state, and federal agencies are searching for Elizabeth Pollard, who apparently fell into the sinkhole near Monday's Union restaurant in uh, Unity Township, about 40 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. The search and rescue incident on Marguerite Road is still a very active scene. Unity Township Bureau of Fire announced in a press release. So basically, she went out there at night, and then when they didn't hear from her or her granddaughter who was there with her granddaughter was in the car, 5 years old, and they said, "Oh no, where is she?" And they found this sinkhole that apparently had developed that like right then and there. And this came out this morning that they do not expect to find the woman there, unfortunately, but they're still going to do that and try to do a recovery effort there. And let's hope that nobody else gets hurt with that sinkhole. That would really stink. Here we have another Pennsylvania story. A 66-year-old New Jersey man died in a work-related accident involving a ladder and an HVAC unit at a strip mall apparently in Schuylkill, Pennsylvania. The person is a Paulsboro resident who was employed by a company in Paulsboro doing HVAC work, and the facility was reportedly a dollar store, Dollar General. That's what the information I have is with that. Uh, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, this might be a reason why I bring this up is that the name sounds familiar. We may know this person here with that passed away. Rest in peace. Here we have a Duke Energy line worker killed on the job in Sanford, North Carolina. A Duke Energy line worker was killed in an on-the-job accident on Wednesday. It happened in Sanford. Duke Energy spokesman Jeff Brooks told ABC 11 that it was a tough day. Yesterday, one of our line workers was involved in the tragic incident in Sanford, Brooks said. Our hearts go out to the teammate's family and fellow co-workers who are currently reviewing the incident to learn more and ask for privacy for the family at this time. No other details have been with that. So, again, line workers killed, everything else. Now, this is something else here. U.S. Department of Labor, and they did not do a press release on here, so I'm going off of a ABC 27 website, abc27.com, and the story is by George Stockberger, posted this afternoon. This happened in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration is investigating a safety complaint at Hershey Reaches facility in Dauphin County. According to OSHA, the investigation began on November 15th after a complaint was filed regarding the Reese campus on Reese Avenue in Hershey. And OSHA spokesman says the investigation is still open and ongoing. So again, everybody's innocent until proven guilty here on this. Now, the article mentions that there have been 6 OSHA investigations with this company, including incidents about a partial finger amputation, for mixing a free machine, lack of fall protection, lack of machine guarding, and surprisingly, and lockout tagout issues and exposed caught-in hazards. Surprisingly, they actually have a link to uh, a lot of this stuff, and I'm not going to share it because the way that it's listed on the website, it's not a press release, and it's not combined. So I have to take it one by one here. So what happened there? And this is all off of the OSHA website. Uh, Back in the most recent one was 920 was just issued last week. It was a hand and portable tools and equipment violation, and this is basically the tools were not kept in. Uh, the employer did not keep tools and equipment in safe condition. That employees use a handcrafted cutting jig on a piece of equipment to fabricate circular shaped swimming pool skimmer covers out of square shaped pieces of plastic composite material. Right. And uh, so they were removing the saw blade and involved sliding and cutting the jig with the right hand while holding the workpiece with the left hand. So they were doing something like this, right? Holding the tool and holding that. And they had to use this like in a hand situation. And the person contacted the saw blade with a finger and resulting in a laceration and amputation injury to the left hand. That's not good. All right, with that, proposed penalty 11,754. With that, so again, not using a vice or using a makeshift situation here is what allegedly happened from what I take it here. This one's from 2023 here. And it was maintenance, safeguards, and operational features on exit routes. So employees are exposed to slip, trip, and fall hazards from emergency lighting not functioning. This was settled for 5,022 here, and with that, so two serious one. So it was 5,022 and 6,969. The next one was here, $12,474, right? With this, all right, it was for a situation where a employee amputates the fingertips when glove and fingers are pulled into a machinery, apparently here, and it was a non-hospitalized injury. Explain that one to me. How do you amputate fingers and not be right? Okay, this doesn't make sense. So so basically, the employer's right hand was pulled into a machine, and right, the employee placed his hands to the bottom of the machine and started jerking the machine, operating something on there to declump it. The connector and chute came off, and the rotating paddles inside the FIBM caught the employee's right glove, pulling the glove, as well as the right and middle fingers into the machine. The employee was treated without hospitalization. However, the title says employee amputates fingertips. Must have been like an avulsion of something right on the fingertips. Didn't require hospitalization, is what it's looking at, but they were whacked with the penalty ended up being $7,500 almost. And we have here same deal here where looks like a general duty clause violation here with this with a caught in between and crushing type of situation with employees. Doesn't look like anybody was actually hurt with it. And another one was 1910-12, which was general requirements for all machines. And employees working there were exposed to caught in or caught by hazards by moving machine parts from lack of guarding with that. So lack of guarding there. And for a total of boom, 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 like $13,000, something like that on here. And so it was a total of 13,653 when all was said and done, when some got negotiated downward, probably, or settled downward. And here we have the last one was a 1910 147 violation, which was lockout tagout with that. And another one in 2021, same visit was a general duty clause situation where this employee is clearing the jams in a machine did not have complete protection from the oven's stored energies. So that was the whole thing with that. And again, the article was written, for the popular press and popular consumption. So, no, you don't expect them to go into in-depth things, but that's what we are here at Safety Wars here with this. Now, this has been on the news in New York City the entire day here, pretty much. This was so one of the things that uh, one of the things that and the story just locked up. Hold on. Was there is apparently an organized hit on the CEO of United Healthcare. He was in town for a meeting in New York City outside a Manhattan hotel. And the insurance executive, and this is according to NBC News, the insurance executive was killed outside a Manhattan hotel in what police called a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. They got the whole thing uh, on on video. It appears to me that the shooter had a silencer on the gun, and it looked like a single action type of gun because there is no uh, meaning that you pull the trigger and it fires, right? Single action with that. And so you pull back the hammer, you shoot, or it might have been a double action revolver because there's no ejection. And my understanding, what I learned today, was that some pistols, semi-automatic pistols, are designed that they don't eject, right? Or with the ammunition you have, they don't eject. So there were no casings there on the ground because I tell you what, if there were casings on the ground in New York, handguns had to go through our registered. So if a registered handgun, a legal handgun, is used in an attack, they have a sample of the ballistics, and then they're able to trace it back. Do they do that? I don't know. They got a lot. Last I heard, they were overwhelmed with it. They didn't really track it, but that's what the thing is. I don't keep up on those things. I don't know too much about guns, but uh, apparently, no. It looks like a premeditated hit, is what they're saying. Now, what I find amazing, and I've known a lot of these CEOs, the tech CEOs especially. A lot of them are in my town. I just ran into one when I was having Japanese food for dinner tonight. Very large. He's a CEO of a very large company. No security. A lot of these folks, and it's not that they. I believe that they can afford security, but they don't have security here, and that's kind of hard to believe here with that. No, again, personal security and everything else. And the other thing is this: in New York, if I was one of these guys, I wouldn't be doing business in New York because you're not allowed to wear bulletproof vests. They're illegal here. Uh, no, none of that stuff is legal. So, because of a mass shooting from a couple years ago up in the Niagara Falls, Buffalo area up there. So, again, you're not allowed to employ full security anyway. So, this is an issue here. OSHA emergency response hearing. The comment period, the hearing ends, right? The comment period begins. OSHA holds public hearing on proposed emergency response standard. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration has concluded a virtual public hearing on its proposed emergency response standard. The hearing, which began on November 12th, provided stakeholders with an opportunity to discuss the potential effects of proposed standard. Concerns have been raised on about how this standard could impact volunteer fire companies. And the public comment period is reopened till January 17th. One of the one of the things I've read is that they will lose between 20 to 40% of their capacity if this standard goes through, uh, as far as fires. So that means they're not going to be. One of the things is they're not physically able to do the job as far as pulmonary function tests are concerned with that. So, VOA, Voice of America, let us go on that website. Now, here we're going to do a screen share. I tell you what, let's go to our second commercial break, and we're going to do a screen share on that. All right, so here we are on VOA, and again, VOA is open source here in the United States. This is the official. As far what there's a lot of them. The Voice of America is meant to be America's face in the world. Here we have U.S. President Joe Biden got a firsthand look Wednesday at the U.S. Finance Trail project that weaves together his personal love of railroads, his desire to leave a legacy in Africa that will outlive his administration. I'm just reading what the article says, right? The Lobito, Lobito. I know what it sounds like I said, right? But the Lobito corridor is a 13-kilometer rail line stretching from Copper Ridge, Zambia, to the port of Lobito in the southwest nation of Angola. The railway is meant to form a strategic and economic corridor under the Biden administration's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, an initiative meant to counter China's well-established sprawling Belt and Road Initiative. So far, the Biden administration says it committed $4 billion toward the project. And basically, what it comes down to and the average listener may not know this. I don't want to say average. I know that we have a lot of stuff out there that people. One of them is this: China has a growing economy like us, and they have been exploiting Africa and its resources, right, by making loans that they know that they can't pay back. Some of these countries. So what they end up doing is coming in there and getting the mineral rights. These companies go and take all the minerals, and everything else. And then on the other hand, we have the United States and Europe that want that need access to these same minerals. So there's like they're in competition, and this has been going on for many, many, many years with this. So this is all part of that. Uh, this is all part of that going on here. So uh, I know there were a lot of commentators today that were very upset at why are we spending all this money in Africa? Well, this is part of what it is, right? It's again context drives behavior. We're at quote, "We are at one of those transition points in world history. All these projects and investments are designed to have a high impact, and Biden announced the United States will invest $600 million more to upgrade the way and further develop the Lobito corridor. The United States understands that's how we invest in Africa is just as important as how we invest in Africa is just as important as how much we invest so in Africa." From senior administration officials said this rail line will, by the end of the decade, be extended to its full length, stretching from Africa's Indian coast to the Atlantic port. Initially, it will transfer critical materials such as cobalt and copper from the continent's deep interior to the coast. The corridor is completed. A journey that now takes 40 days will take 40 hours. With that, and China has a lot to say about this. We'll leave it at that. Okay, with that, right? And this is all along those lines. And from VOA Mandarin, Biden hits, and this is in English, incredible. From Biden hits hard at China's AI, Trump they pound harder. The Biden administration issued what is likely a final set of export control rules against Beijing earlier this week. The rules forbid companies from exporting an important chip component crucial for training artificial intelligence to China. Experts say it will further constrain the Chinese supply chain for AI. They also expect the next Trump administration to further extend Washington's strategic blockade. Again, escalating tensions. Where are we going to end up with that? U.S. senators vow action after briefing Chinese Salt Typhoon Telecom hacking, with hacking. All right. With that, hold on. I'll just read this story. Washington, U.S. government agencies. Um, okay. U.S. government agencies held a classified briefing for all senators on Wednesday on China's alleged efforts known as Salt Typhoon to burrow deep into America's telecommunication companies and steal data about U.S. calls. The FBI Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, Federal Communication Chair, Jessica Rosenworcel, and National Security Council and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency were among the participants in the closed-door briefing. Democratic Senator Ron Wyden told reporters after the briefing he was working to draft legislation on the issue, while Senator Bob Casey said he had great concern about the breach and it may not be until next week before Congress can address the issue. They have not told us why they didn't catch it, what they could have done to prevent it. He said China is denying the whole thing. Is basically it. A U.S. official told reporters a large number of Americans' data has been stolen in the sweeping cyber espionage campaign, adding that dozens of companies across the world have been hit by the hackers, including at least 8 telecommunications and telecom infrastructure firms in the United States. Now, in a related story here, uh, let's see here. So, this is from the FBI. Let's see if I could get a thing. This is out of Forbes here, Forbes magazine. Timing is everything, just as Apple's adoption of RCS had seemed to signal a return. I don't know what RCS is. What is RCS? RCS update is I don't know. Okay, doesn't matter, right? Timing is everything. It's just Apple's adoption of RCS has seemed to signal a return to text messaging versus the unstoppable growth of WhatsApp. Then along comes a surprising new hurdle to stop it in its tracks. While messaging Android to Android or iPhone to iPhone is secure, messaging from one to the other is not. Now, even the FBI and CISA, the U.S. Cyber Defense Agency, are warning Americans to use responsibly encrypted messaging and phone calls where they can. The backdrop is the Chinese hacking of U.S. networks that is reportedly ongoing and likely larger in scale than previously understood. Fully encrypted comms is the best defense against this compromise, and Americans are being urged to use that whenever possible. The network's cyber attacks attributed to Salt Typhoon, a group associated with China's Ministry of Security, which generated heightened concern in the vulnerabilities of critical U.S. communication. So the FBI directives advise using a cell phone that automatically receives timely operating system updates, responsibly manage encryption and phishing resistant MFA, whatever that is, for email, social media. So what does it matter? One of the greatest oxymorons in the human language is computer security. The way it is with that, uh, you know. So okay, Ukraine, and this is a near and dear personal thing for us and my family. Ukraine demanded Wednesday that Russia and what Kyiv called the largest kidnapping campaign in modern history, and returned Ukrainian children forcibly transferred from its territory during the ongoing war. Ukraine is searching for nearly 20,000 children who were subjected to illegal deportation and forced transfer. Yet the actual figure could be much higher, but we can't find it out, right? Russian officials systemically refuse to provide information. Armenia told a meeting of the United Nations Security Council convened to discuss the situation that a little bit over 1,000 children have been repatriated, and she urged the international community to pressure Moscow to cooperate. Russia must be forced to do this. Now, I'm going to tell you this with this, right? The article goes on and on and on. So, we had on this program Imogene Salva, right, who wrote a book, One Star Away, on her mother's story of the Soviet concentration camps during World War II. Remember, Russia is, right, like modern Russian Federation is derived from the Soviet, and the Soviet was from the Russian Empire, Soviet Empire. So no, the Soviet Union was came out of the Russian Revolution and the Russian Empire under the Tsar. And I have a cat here who's running into me. All right, now during World War II, Russia has always had an issue with a lot of land, not so many people, and then when they started family planning situations, and a little bit of eugenics got thrown in there back in the 1920s and 30s, their population has pretty much sunk. And with the has pretty much sunk since then. And along with World War II and some of these other conflicts where they're just throwing people out of at in the war, there's huge casualties even in this war. Uh, they need people. They need people. There's a lot of arguments that say that this war is because they're fighting this war now because later on they're not going to have the people to fight the war under their current military doctrine. I know math and I know demographics, math and everything which is based on math. And they don't have the right number of people in the right age groups. So and with a low birth rate. And we're having the same problem here, according to Bill Clinton. Hold on here. Jimmy, you're full of it. You're full of it. You're full of it. I think this is Bill Clinton here. Hold on. That was from a campaign stop for the vice president back in October. Now, why do I play that? Right? I'm called a conspiracy theorist and everything else because, and again, we know what happened with the COVID report now, right? Well, everyone calling everyone conspiracy theorists. It turns out that they were right on a lot of things. So, demographic issues are what drive economies and do what drive countries. So, there's a lot of people that believe that the a low birth rate in Russia is one of the root causes of the Ukrainian war. Number one. Number two, there's not enough children in Russia. They kidnap, and their policy is to Russify people. So when during World War II, when Soviet Union invaded Poland, people like my mother and her family went over into re-education camps, which were concentration camps, to try to Russify them, and it didn't work. You can read Imogene Salva's book on this. Her mother and her family's experience is the same. In my family, 12 or 13 people died. We're not sure on the exact number, but no, it's either 12 or 13 people died over there, and there were three survivors from my family out of that situation. But again, to Russify people and get the population up. And that's what they're talking about here with return of kidnapped children here, is that this was still going on with Russia as no, today. So again, those who do not study history are damned to repeat it, as the Lord Acton had said, and many other people. Got to study history. And let me play this here, another one, right? You got to face that harsh reality here. And that's what we're about here on Safety Wars. We're about a lot of things here. We talk about safety, we talk about current events. All of these have a little bit of a safety bent on them with this, and that's basically what we all do at the network. So, what I'm going to tell you, it's been a great day here. A lot of great things happening. We hope to be on the air tomorrow. We're supposed to be getting our first major snowstorm of the season here in Rockland County. Some parts of New Jersey and counties further west already have had snowstorms, like up in High Point and everything else. And as I like to remind people, if you did not get to your leaves, you're not getting to them now. Right? Once it snows, that's pretty much it. So for Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.